next slide. What I thought I'd do is give you a virtual tour of the full 3-mile area, sort of what it looks like from the air. You know your neighborhood very well, and how this area from sort of Bower, mostly north, which is where the space would, the corridor might fall, Bower, Butler area. But you may not know the other neighborhoods as well, so I'd like to give you a view of the whole planned roadway. So as you move out of the St. Hyacinth's neighborhood and go east over the Kingsbury Run ravine, going east, you go over Kinsman Avenue, and this takes us now up Grand. St. Hyacinth's area is the most populated of the areas where the project is being proposed. And then other areas you see vacant areas and areas with dumping. Continue east past Orlando Bakery Baking Company on Grand Avenue. This is at 79th and Grand, and then there's a whole area of abandoned warehouses. Continue, actually, hold on, back. One more. So here you see we have 2 lines where the roadway might split. That's because there are various routes, alternatives that are being explored, and Matt Wall, when he presents, will talk to you about those in detail. I just thought I would explain why you see the dotted red line taking 2 different areas. Matt's going to find a pointer for me, so this doesn't do it.
Thought we would have learned last time.
Thank you, sir. All right, next, please. So then, so Grand Avenue comes on the south side of the lower Buckeye area. This would probably be Lisbon Avenue. Anyways, it continues to go east. Woodland is one route. Another route would be south of here, but this is the lower Buckeye area. Again, a mix of vacant lots and abandoned old industrial buildings. This is an old aerial because this juvenile justice center is now coming out of the ground. It's probably about 80% complete. And in fact, one time we had a route that was going to look at going on the north side of this rail line, and so we can't do that anymore. So we're looking south of that. Again, you see area that's no longer built, that's being used for storage. And then the last one shows how it then connects here at Quincy and East 105th Street and would go towards University Circle. So, next. As we talk about the project, originally the conversations were all about transportation, ease of access, and access to University Circle. As we know, or most of us are aware, the circle, broadly defined, University Circle, not just the small 1 square mile area, but the space where the Cleveland Clinic is, and Midtown, University Hospitals and Case, really is the largest economic development engine in Northeast Ohio now. That's where jobs are being created and there's growth. A lot of it is related to the healthcare industry, as we read about. So we know that there's growth there, but it's also landlocked. And as we think about improving access to continue that economic growth, we began to look at where there are opportunities to have growth, economic development outside of the circle, growth that could benefit residents who live in the 5 surrounding neighborhoods. So this map shows green means vacant property. Isn't that amazing? You don't really have a sense of how widespread it is, even when you drive through, because you're only looking at one area. But when you look along this whole stretch, and this is dated, so this is actually 2008. But last year was a rigorous year in terms of demolition in the city. In fact, Bob Brown, he's not here, but he reported in a meeting earlier today that there was 2,200 demolitions in the city of Cleveland. This map got more green dots on it between 2008 and now.
Wow.
So, well, and as, good word, wow, right?
Wow.
But as we say wow, we decided to look at this not in the negative, but as the opportunity. What can be done with this land? And so our planning effort is to come up with new land uses, new development opportunity that is good for the town and good for residents. And we don't have that full answer yet. So that's this planning process. But that's what we think the opportunity is. So I'm not selling anything. I'm saying that there's this opportunity to do good things, things as identified as good by residents in these areas. So next slide. How we define that is the orange space is what we're calling our project study area, and that's really a rough area that it's underneath it. Take that other chair.
Oh.
There you go.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. So the orange area, again, is the project study area, and it is the boundary in which Matt will talk more, but that the alternative routes, the path that the road might take, sort of is bounded in that orange area. And in that area, as I showed you on the other map, lots of vacant land or some abandoned buildings, underutilized properties, and not as many residents as used to live there. So as our city has lost population generally, we've lost population in a very steep way within that space, again creating opportunities. But there's still people who live there, obviously, and there's still businesses that are doing business in that area. So our project on the economic development side is how to improve things there. So the burgundy, or whatever it is, purplish color that extends beyond the project area is something we call the community benefit area. And as we talked with elected officials like Councilman Brancatelli or the mayor or the governor, they all charge us with making sure that this project benefits our community. As further defined, but we needed to create an area where we could get a baseline data and then measure what kind of benefits follow. Begin to plan specifically for an area. So these are our two boundaries: project study area and community benefit area.
Question?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the yellow netting looking part? What is that?
Good question. So that's called, on here, potential redevelopment areas. So, no, I'm happy to answer that. And so we looked very specifically where we want to create and be able to assemble lots or land that's large enough to attract businesses. So one of the things that happens in Cleveland, so I'm really glad you asked that question because I wouldn't have said this, but one of the things that has happened here, when you read stories about businesses going to suburbs or Cleveland competing for businesses with other states or Ohio with other states, you have to have tracts of land where somebody could come in and build a new building. And oftentimes you need, large acreage. We don't have that as a community assembled. So when you drive out further, they have lots of farmland, and then it becomes an industrial park. In order to be more competitive and to bring jobs closer to the city where people are working or closer to public transportation, we've got to assemble sites. And that's what this represents, areas where we think there's great opportunity for assembling large acreages of land. Okay.
Thank you for answering that question.
You're welcome.